Hey everybody, this is Jerome Robinson again from the Robinson Group, where I typically bring unbiased reviews. This one is a little bit biased, or a lot biased, because I got hurt in the gut a little while ago and I want to explain it, right? So I'm going to talk to you about different phone companies, but I'm going to bring a little bit of bias to this, and I'm being honest and upfront by telling you that, just so you know. I know a lot about this one particular company that I'm going to mention in a minute, and so if you're thinking about buying RingCentral, buyer beware, and I'll get into that. So I've had, we're talking about business phones. I've used a company called, it used to be called Packet 8, and then they changed their name to 8x8. I've used Vonage Business, and I've used RingCentral, and I've used many others. I've used all different kinds of softwares, from Call Tools to Five9 to Dolphin, you name it. From Magic Jack to there's another one, I forgot what it's called, Grasshopper, and all different kinds, many others. And I've investigated other companies as well to use them for some of our locations and for some of the different companies that I have. I'm going to speak to you specifically about RingCentral, and I'm going to go with RingCentral first because I want to say shame on them. So I will tell you, RingCentral, their service is good. I've had better service with RingCentral than 8x8. Let me tell you why. 8x8, when I first had 8x8, it was definitely the least expensive. When they went up in price, they changed their whole program to where they weren't able to offer me the original price anymore, even though I had it in writing and email. So they increased the price, didn't like that. Plus, it seemed every single year, talking about Verizon, I guess, owned the number that we owned and kept on porting our number. It was like someone was maliciously doing it or something. So we would lose our number for like 2 days. And it always seemed to be like, it's like the luck of the Irish. I'm not Irish, by the way. It always seemed to be, whenever we dropped like $20,000 on some big advertising campaign, boom, we lose our number. No one can get a hold of us. And we call 8x8 and they don't know what's going on. We have to investigate. We're screaming, and I'm going back and forth, and it takes almost a week to get our number back. And it was happening every year to where I was like, I'm through with this. We've lost, I tell you, I promise you, we've lost over $100,000 on lost business because of 8x8. Not a bad company necessarily, but unfortunately, didn't work out for us. We had Sprint way back in the day, before it became Embark, and then we had Embark, and then we had CenturyLink, became CenturyLink. In fact, I still have CenturyLink today, and I've got Bright House, which became Spectrum. I've got Comcast, Xfinity. I've got them all. CenturyLink is one company that doesn't like to give. If you ever leave that company, are known in the industry. They don't like to give up their telephone number. So if by law they have to port. If you want to port the number to another company, CenturyLink will not give it up. They'll use every trick in the book to not give up that number. So it's a big, huge flaw of CenturyLink. CenturyLink is typically very expensive. I will say that. I'm a dealer of CenturyLink as well, and Comcast and Spectrum. We sell all those services too at one of my companies, but it is typically expensive. But if you want the most, let me say something beneficial about CenturyLink. If you want a service that's less likely to go out for phone during any kind of weather or any kind of outage or power, CenturyLink. If you want something that's going to work every time, CenturyLink. I can't tell you their internet's going to work every time, but I can tell you their phone will. So I definitely would recommend CenturyLink. You're going to pay a pretty price for it, but especially if you're trying to do a PBX. But you could always do hunt groups, which we can talk about another time. If you ever have any questions or want to know what a hunt group is, or any of the technical, or what's the best PBX to get, or things like that, you can always ask questions below, and somebody will answer, whether it be me or somebody else. And everybody's going to have their opinions. If I miss anything out, or I misspoke, or whatever, please, haters beware. Please don't keep your negativity to yourself if you don't mind. All right, so We talked about CenturyLink. Comcast, can't complain. It's decent price, decent service. Spectrum, same thing. Decent price. Their prices tend to go up. These are non-contracted services. CenturyLink is a contracted service, which kind of stinks. Comcast has some contract service and some not. I believe Spectrum does as well. Spectrum can get up there eventually. Comcast can get up there eventually. Everybody's kind of getting up there with CenturyLink. Vonage is probably, by the time you watch this, I know Vonage is doing away with their residential service. They'll still support the current existing customers, but they're not going to take on any new customers. By the time you watch this, they probably would have already did away with the residential service. But their business service, I like. They're getting better and adding more features. It was the newbie, the new dog on the block. So they, I said new dog on the block, right? As opposed to new kid on the block. So Vonage is the new kid on the block, and Vonage. When I first had Vonage, many years, or not many years ago, I think like a year ago, they didn't have very many features. Wasn't a fan of it. Didn't give it enough time. Then I switched to RingCentral, and RingCentral, I have to say, is a good service. Haven't really had any issues with RingCentral. Easy to use, backend reporting, everything is pretty easy to do and use. I like RingCentral. Here's the problem. This is where I say buyers beware. RingCentral will extend your contract every 2 years for 2 years, for another 2 years, without even telling you. There's some fine print somewhere, and I'm a RingCentral dealer. I'm a Vonage dealer too. I sell it all. But I have to say, I can't consciously, in good conscience, sell someone RingCentral again. And I feel bad for anybody I have sold RingCentral to. Please do not sue me. RingCentral, you have like this very small window to notify them to cancel it. And if you don't, they automatically extend it for another 2 years. So if you've had it for 3.5 years, guess what? You can't cancel the service. If you've had it for 4.5 years, you can't cancel it for another 1.5 years. Like, they trap you. And to me, that is unethical and wrong. I've actually written the president, the vice president, CEO, CFO, CIO, CTO. I've written the FCC, the Attorney General. So hopefully they'll get the hint and they'll cancel my contract. I've also, I had to put a, I tried to take it off of credit card auto pay. When I say I did it, my people did it. Someone in, I appointed someone in my company to do it, and when they try to take it off credit card auto pay, they wouldn't allow them to do that either. When you try to cancel it, oh, we don't have that department. Are you kidding me right now? So I certainly called American Express. I said, stop payment, do not pay them. I make sure I pay them up to date. I switch services, do not pay them a penny more. So they won't pay RingCentral anymore. Porting the number. Oh my goodness, they're almost as bad as CenturyLink. So they tried every trick in the book to not let me port the number. I wanted to port it over to Vonage, and first they said, the address is wrong. We matched the address. They kept on rejecting it. Then finally, we contacted them. They said, okay, well, you have to use our address, meaning their address, RingCentral's address. Like, that's not our address, so we did that. They rejected again. Then they said, oh, you have 2 different addresses, so you have to use 2 different addresses. So we used 2 different addresses. They still rejected it. They rejected it. I'm probably exaggerating when I say 12 to 14 times, but it definitely seemed like that, if not that much. And they may have rejected it more. I don't know. I wasn't a part of that. I just heard bits and pieces and the screaming and the hollering and the frustration, to where I was like, I am so through with RingCentral. I never want to see them again. And by the way, this all started, I didn't call to cancel RingCentral. All I did was, we had more phones than we needed. I think we had like 60-something lines or whatever, and 60 or 60-something, or I don't remember what the number was. But I wanted to just reduce the amount of lines. I happened to see a bill, and I haven't seen bills in a long time, and I happened to open up an envelope that came across my desk, and it doesn't typically do that. And I opened it up, I'm like, wow, we're paying a lot for insurance, and oh wow, we're paying a lot for phones. Let's reduce that cost, right? was we're hemorrhaging in this one side of the business. So I went to reduce some of the phones that we're not using, that are just sitting around, and they wouldn't let us even reduce one phone. We're out of contract. We can't reduce one phone. Nope, because you're in contract for all phones. You have to pay a big, huge fee if you're going to do that. Are you kidding me? If I was allowed to stick up the middle finger at you right now, I would, but this is a PG and non-violent video, right? So, so I was like, dude, I'm sorry, you guys don't want my business. We're done. So it's a pain to port. They don't want to let you port. You have to jump through so many hoops to port. So don't cancel unless you have another service ready to go. You definitely better, have a, cancel your payment. If I were you, I'd use some sort of credit card that is one of those temporary cards that you throw away. Because some companies, and that's why I would say use American Express. I don't know if Visa or MasterCard or Discover can do this, but I don't know if they can block someone from continuing to pay. American Express, I know years ago, was typically pretty good about honoring, disputes. So we'll see what happens. We talked about almost impossible to port. Otherwise, I have to say, other than that, I never had issues with RingCentral. They're not the cheapest service, but they're not the most expensive, and it was a pretty good bang for your buck. So I don't think they should do a contract. They don't need to. If you have a great service, and I had good service with them, why do the contract to begin with? I understand why some companies do a contract. You didn't need to do a contract with us. You don't need to do a contract with a phone service. You don't. So I thought that was in poor taste. There's some other good companies out there, and I'll list them below. Feel free to ask me. Like I said, I can't think of everything off the top of my head, but I would definitely stay away from RingCentral for that reason. You fall into that trap, you're done. For a good PBX, and Verizon even has one for their mobile phone service. It's like a separate company. Verizon has a good, fairly decent PBX, but you can't page, and paging is important. I want to press a button and page from one store to the other. I can do that on RingCentral. I can do that on Vonage. I couldn't do that on Vonage before, but I can do that on Vonage now. RingCentral, a lot of the prices are built in. Vonage starts off cheaper, but then you got to pay extra for this and pay extra for that, pay extra for that. It's not expensive. Don't get me wrong. They do nickel and dime you, but it's not expensive and it's still worth it. RingCentral has quite a bit more features than Vonage. In fact, RingCentral has quite a more features than most companies besides 8x8. 8x8 and RingCentral are pretty much neck and neck of being, a lot of features. When I say a lot of features, they have their own. I use Zoom now. I have a paid subscription to Zoom for like video conferencing, but RingCentral has their own version and own phone apps and things like that. Vonage does too, but 8x8, Vonage has the phone app, but as far as the whiteboard and the video conferencing, 8x8 and RingCentral are the kings when it comes to that. But you can pay $15 and use another service, so you don't have to use that service. So I use Zoom for that. And I think 8x8 caps you, I think, at like 15 people, and you pay more. I don't remember what RingCentral caps you at, but the paid for subscription with Zoom, I think I paid $15. They have a free one. I think I paid $15 and it caps you at 99. But I have people all over the world, not just in the United States, that we have video conferences every morning with different companies that work for me. So it's important that I'm able to do that. Let's see. Vonage, RingCentral, and 8x8 both have the phone app. So like whether I'm at the office using one of the handheld phones, or I'm using my phone app, I can make and receive phone calls, and I can transfer calls through the phone app, which is on my cell phone, as if I was in the office, and check my voicemail and all that. I haven't used the Vonage one. Some people who work for me have. But I can tell you right now, RingCentral is darn good, except for those things that I say buyer beware. And 8x8 is very good, except for those issues that I had. So so I guess, guys, that's it. I wouldn't get RingCentral just because of that whole unethical business part. Vonage, now I should clear this up. Vonage does do contract if you get their phones. You buy the phones, buy your own phones, no contract. So I always recommend buy the phones yourself, buy PBX phones. These are all PBX services except for CenturyLink. Sorry, virtual PBX, except for CenturyLink. But a lot better than some of these more expensive PBXs that used to cost, like, I remember it was quoted like $22,000 to start, and then it was, by the time you grew, it was, almost $100,000 for their PBX, and per month was very expensive. Are you kidding me? Nowadays you can get PBX for dirt cheap. Grasshopper is very limited, guys. It's like if you're trying to, save money. Google Voice. Some people tell me, hey, Google Voice, just do Google Voice. No. If you're trying to run a business, be professional. Don't use Google Voice. And believe it or not, we have like over 60 lines. And years ago, I'm talking like 15 years ago, I think that we used maybe like 12 years ago, I think we used like Magic Jack for some of our lines when we sent them out to different salespeople for work from home positions. That worked okay because it's cheap, right? But the problem with that is Magic Jack, if like more than one person calls sometimes, it'll say, hey, you've met your Magic Jack subscriber, and that's just unprofessional. So I don't want my clients or customers to ever hear that I'm using Magic Jack. Not okay. If you think you're going to be a professional company and use a Magic Jack, guess again. Or a Google Voice, guess again. You want to use Grasshopper, go ahead. But if you want to grow, guys, stop being a cheap bastard. Don't go into business thinking you could be a cheap bastard and not get a real phone system. Get a real phone system. Whether it be a RingCentral, a Vonage, an 8x8, or there's others. Get something. Do not be a cheap bastard. Get a phone, the automated system, the functionality is really great and really powerful with a lot of these companies. Like I said, Vonage is not up to par with 8x8 or RingCentral yet, but I believe they will be soon. Buy your own equipment and go with a company that doesn't do a contract. Now, Dish Network and DirecTV, and now I'm talking about television, I'm not really trying to go off on a tangent, they do contract, and so does Bright House sometimes, or now Spectrum and Comcast, a lot of their stuff. They do contract for a reason, but I don't believe a good phone service should do a contract. There's many reasons why they should not. If they're offering a great service, you're not going to leave them. So I don't have a recommendation for you. I'd have to say RingCentral's on the bottom of my list just because of those features. It's not just my experience, it's everybody's experience to get out of their contract. It's not like, oh, I had a bad experience, it was just me. Like, I bought a bad phone, it was defective. No, that's the way they do business. So no way RingCentral. And it's too bad because they're a great service otherwise. So I'd have to recommend 8x8. Although 8x8 may not be as good as they used to. It seems like their website's changing a little bit. I don't know. But I would say 8x8 or Vonage. Any of those services, even if it is RingCentral. And please don't curse me if you do it, but I'll give you a discount on any of those services. Come buy it from me, and I'll beat anybody's price on any of those services, and I'll give you a huge discount, and I'll give you my honest and ethical opinion. Okay? You probably won't deal with me. You'll be dealing with someone who works for me. But tell them that you've watched my video and that Jerome promised you'll give a discount. And if you want to speak to me directly, you can actually ask to speak to me directly. I probably won't know prices or anything like that. I'll direct you to someone who knows what they're talking about, such as one of our customer care experts or engineers. But I can definitely tell you what I think is the best product for you. I don't even know what they pay commission-wise to our salespeople. I don't know what I make on them. I'm not in that department. I just know my experience with these companies and my testing. So I'll give you an unbiased opinion and a review on what is in your best interest, based on cost that I'll look up, and based on, every business is different. Every business You know, Vonage might be good for one business where RingCentral or 8x8 might be good for another. All right, guys, hey, I've taken up a lot of your time. I appreciate you listening to me. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and post your comments below, guys. My number, you can always call me. My telephone number is below, right here. Ooh, look at that bad boy. Look at it. It's so sexy, right? That's me, right? No, that's my company, or one of them anyway. Call me. You can always ask for me, but definitely post your comments below. And guys, thank you for watching, right? Hey, rock on. Have a great day. Be a better you than you were yesterday by practicing to be the best you that you can be today, right now. Guys, peace out. Love you. Take care. Bye.